All right, we're back again. Glass Bead Game Society, Video 8. We're continuing on with the 220 members of the Glass Bead Game. Again, this is the Hall of Fame of individuals of all existence. These are the MVPs of all existence, all of being, due to their lives and their ideas. So these are the significant people that have ever existed all into one society. Moving on, we're on to the philosophers of mind. Next guy is David Chalmers, who studies consciousness. And if you've ever seen him speak or a picture of him, he kind of looks like a guy that's half on LSD or whatever, but apparently he's extremely intelligent and one of the forerunners of philosophers of mind on consciousness. So next guy is William James. Uh, Came up with the idea of the stream of consciousness, and in the upcoming potential movie, one of the rides in Mindville is William James's stream of consciousness, where you can go on a water ride, and as you go, you pop balloons, um, designating the discreteness of reality. So William James certainly is in the glass bead game and is an important member. Next guy is John Kehoe. I don't know a lot about. Wrote a book called Mind Power. Um, Studies consciousness and is in the glass bead game. John Cyril is the next guy. Philosophy professor of mind at Berkeley. Um, Douglas Hofstadter uh, has like gotten an argument with him of sorts. Yeah, that I think John Cyril criticized Gödel Bach or something, and Douglas Hofstadter basically said that John Cyril doesn't know what he's talking about. I've listened to some of John Cyril's lectures, classroom lectures, and he hates Rene Descartes for some reason, although he uses material in his classroom, uh, the mind-body dualism, and for some reason just hates this dualistic aspect that Rene Descartes came up with of the mind being extensionless, eternal, transcendent, non-divisible thing outside of matter, and he just says that he's completely wrong, and I don't know. I think it has something to do with it. It's almost tied to religion or something goofy, but apparently people like this John Cyril guy, and I have him in the glass bead game because apparently right now he is one of the top, if not the top, philosophers of mind. Next guy, cosmologist Max Tegmark, um, believes that the human mind may be the only consciousness in the entire universe. And he says there's many scientific reasons for this, and that possibly if the human uh, world, the Earth, and all of the people on it cease to exist, that possibly the universe ceases to exist because there's no one there to perceive it. Um, and maybe I'm just expanding on some of these ideas from my own books. I'm not sure, um, but it's interesting listening to some of his videos and his material. Lawrence Krauss wrote a book called A Universe from Nothing. Uh, claim that it's not Jesus that died for us, but it was stars that died for us. And that in the beginning, collapsing stars created enough heat, which created the constituents that were necessary, especially carbon, for human existence to come into being. And I like listening to him speak. As a matter of fact, I have a tattoo of a collapsing star on my back, a blue collapsing star that I got after I read his book. One thing I didn't like about his videos is this hatred almost. He tours with, can't remember the guy he tours with, that hates Christians and hates Christianity or anybody that believes in God. And it's just kind of strange that their hatred of people that believe in God, and who cares what other people think. But I thought that was kind of strange. Can't think of this other guy's name. But Lawrence Krauss is really interesting. I enjoyed his book, and he's in the Glass Bead game. Two new additions were Copernicus and Kepler, just revolutionary ideas around 1400. And then moving on to the musicians now. The very first one I absolutely love, Jacqueline Dupree, who was a cellist, lived around the 1960s. She became the greatest cellist in the world, and her videos are absolutely fantastic. Of her playing the cello with an entire symphony behind her. And when I first saw this, she's so flamboyant, I almost thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit, that she is just so flamboyant when she plays the cello. And it's absolutely beautiful. I recently bought a double CD of hers that I listened to in my Mercedes S550 that I keep talking about, with a subwoofer in the trunk. I can't remember the name of this CD I bought of her. I've been having a mental block lately of things I can't remember. But I absolutely love listening to her. I've been listening to the Symphony Channel in my car for the last couple of months, and really been learning a lot about the classical composers and coming to appreciate the brilliance of their lives, and the significance in the Glass Bead game of synthesizing the beauty of music and mathematics and art and philosophy and ontology and aesthetics that creates this ultimate perfect reality that we live in here in the Glass Bead game. Another interesting thing about Jacqueline Dupree, the one thing that she couldn't lose was the disease that she got, which I think it was MS or something, which ultimately she lost the feeling in her fingers, so she could no longer play the cello, which is just an unbelievable tragedy. There's a movie made about her life, which isn't that great really, but her music is absolutely phenomenal, and I love her story. And she may be one of my favorite musicians of all time. Alyssa Toffoli is next. Wrote a song with the line, "Forgiveness is the key to the world," and I just absolutely love that line. Half of her songs are in Italian, and half of them are in English. And I think she might be about 35 years old now. Her voice is absolutely beautiful. Her one song, and now I'm forgetting it, was used twice on the dancing show. They used this lyrical ballet, which was absolutely beautiful, to one of her songs, and it was actually used twice, I believe, on the show that's been about 7 years, that do duets of classical ballet and dancing. And I'm forgetting the name of this show where they pick the best dancer in the country. Um, um, but her voice is absolutely beautiful. She is not known in the United States, Alyssa Tofoli. She did tour the United States for the first time this past year, and I wanted to go see her. I was going to go see her, and I will, no matter where she is the closest to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm going to fly and go to one of her concerts. She's that beautiful of a singer, and I just forgot about it, or I never found out where she was touring in the United States. I hope she's still here. Next person, Neil Young. I have Cortez the Killer here. All the women were beautiful and the men stood straight and tall. That's absolutely one of the greatest songs of all time. Neil Young, I absolutely love. He's my number one artist of all time. Uh, just all of his music, really, but his early acoustic and piano and harmonica music. I've seen him in concert several times. Um, just his early stuff is absolutely phenomenal. You go to see him in concert, and I did last year. He was here at Milwaukee at a small venue where it's just him on stage and playing these classic songs. Next person, James Taylor, had a line in one of his songs from Only a Dream in Rio, more than a concrete Christ, and that's so much of what the Glass Bead game is all about. Is more than something that you can put into words. I absolutely loved his voice, his songs, his piano playing in the early 1970s. Um, he's just one of my favorites, probably third of all time of modern musicians. Jackson Browne is probably my second favorite. I put here Something Fine. Again, great piano playing, great voice. Not that these guys are deeply philosophical or anything, but just brought so much beauty to the world with their songs. I also saw Jackson Browne last year at this same small venue. Next one, Van Morrison, kind of has a cult following, currently is on tour in Europe, and his song Into the Mystic is absolutely phenomenal, and people have described his live concerts as almost a religious experience. I never knew about Van Morrison until one Saturday morning. I heard the song Into the Mystic and started checking into him, and I was in the process of writing the second or third book, and on that exact day I went, drove, got a bunch of his CDs, listened to them, and included a tribute to Van Morrison in the second or third book, just completely on a whim, which is kind of strange. Let's see. Next person, Corey Taylor, who is the lead singer of Slipknot and Stone Sour, and this is just this crazy devil music. I've been to 2 of their concerts. One in Chicago was absolutely phenomenal. We were about 20th row, and there's 9 band members. Uh, one died, OD'd, and another one OD'd and survived. The bassist died, the drummer survived, and they wear scary masks when they play, and their music is so bizarre, so loud, it's absolutely unbelievable. Uh, Devil type music, and he calls all his fans maggots because we all came from worms, and uh, just Corey Taylor has been called by some that he may be an actual genius. Uh, and recently spoke at some major university in London, and then I went to his Slipknot's what was it, their 15-year anniversary or something, and right outside of Minnesota. I drove like 5 hours to get to that. We went to see them, and there were just extremely strange people walking around there all day. There were 10 bands, and two were playing at a time, and this was an all-day event. Really quite something. The pictures of mind readers they had, and people swallowing flames, and they had a Slipknot museum, and all kinds of strange stuff at this concert of heavy metal. So he's kind of a strange person to have in here, but I like it some strange way. Tracy Chapman is next. Um, Her song "A New Beginning" is absolutely beautiful. Her voice is very unique. It's very deep for a woman's voice, and I just really like Tracy Chapman, and mainly because of her song "We Need a New Beginning." I have her in the glass bead game. The next person, again, Ray LaMontagne. Not a lot of people would know this person, but absolutely phenomenal music. Everybody should check out Ray LaMontagne. Just absolutely gorgeous music, in my opinion. Next, Patti Smith. She is in here because you said she used to study the glass bead game. She actually grew up in New York, and got her start in the punk rock scene, and her music is very wild and strange, and she was a poet, and she is just an absolute trip. And she recently was recognized by Northwestern University and inducted, I think, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. People do not know who this is, but given the fact that she said she used to study the glass bead game, the book by Herman Hesse, was a poet, um, just something about her is really wild and crazy. Next person I recently added was Bob Dylan. Just his early stuff. He was a poet, basically, a musician, poet, and his early songs are really great to listen to. And then the drugs kind of overtook him, and you can hardly even understand what he says now that when he's singing. But just his early stuff is absolutely phenomenal. And that reminds me of somebody I need to add. I'm actually going to add two people on the fly right here. Stevie Ray Vaughan is one who I consider to be the greatest guitarist of all time. And he had this one line during a concert, "Are you with me?" He was talking about love being the most powerful thing or something, and he just yelled out. The crowd was probably just sitting there all stoned, and he just yelled out, "Are you with me?" To the crowd. And so he's just absolutely, if you see his concerts, and you can watch online, he is just one cool dude, and can play the guitar, and his voice is actually gorgeous. He died of a drug overdose, heroin. He was really sick. Oh, I'm sorry. He survived an overdose in Europe, and then quit drugs around 1986, and he was actually clean for 5 years. He died in a helicopter crash in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. He was fronting for um, Eric Clapton, and on the way to the hotel in a helicopter, it crashed and he died. The next guy I'm going to add, and I'm going to check into more, is Gary Clark Jr. I just heard him yesterday for the first time, and his guitar playing is extremely phenomenal, on the par of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I just saw him for the first time last night on some Austin City concert. He grew up in Austin, Texas, and played at a club called Antone's, which is the actual same club that Stevie Ray Vaughan came out of, oddly enough. And you have to check out this Gary Clark Jr., his guitar playing, and I've only seen 3 songs of his ever, and I just saw the last one tonight again, is on par with Stevie Ray Vaughan. And this is just absolutely crazy. On a whim, I'm putting him in the Glass Bead game. Let's see. Another one I almost should put in on a whim is Don McLean, who sang the song Vincent. I may or may not add him, but also sang a song called American Pie, The Day the Music Died, which is a phenomenal song. Moving on to the psychologist, Carl Jung had a very unique view of Eastern psychology. This is very unique, his views. Alan Watts refers to Carl Jung often in his videos and really appreciated his work. So I'm checking into Carl Jung a lot more. I added 2 other psychologists. I don't know if these 2 are going to stay. Sigmund Freud, id, superego, and ego, probably will stay. And then I added another one because I didn't have any other psychologists in the Glass Bead game. This Alfred Binet, who was into psychology and invented the IQ test. And I don't know anything about him, but I put him in here at this point. Just moving on, try to finish these up if possible, because I don't know a lot or have a lot to say about these last ones. Humanitarians, Mother Teresa, one of the greatest people to ever live. Joan of Arc was, I think, burned at the stake. They thought she was like a witch or something. I think she may have been condemned by the church, and now is the only female saint recognized in the history of the church. So I have to check into her more. Tim Tebow, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. He is a saint walking around this earth right now. Maybe not the greatest pro football player, maybe the greatest college football player, however, that ever played the game. He is going to leave a lasting impression on this earth. He's going down in history. I am predicting he's going to do something great in his life. Next humanitarian, Jesus. I did not put him in the mystics. He was more of a humanitarian, and possibly one of the most important people that ever lived, in the sense that he had the greatest impact on the world of going down in history. Moving on, adventurers, and some of these may or may not stay. Christopher Columbus, I mean, just he went and discovered the world, which is just absolutely amazing what he could do 500 years ago or whenever that was. Mark Magna, myself, wrote Being in Time, Ontology Dialogues, House on the Hill, and Metaphysics of Being. I have the free time to play this game, the Glass Bead game, this religion that I've invented, that I get to go to and be part of, and am the Magister Ludi of this game currently. My son Tony Magna is in school right now, studying physical therapy. Will have a definite impact on the world, a positive impact. The sky's the limit. He really is a special person, and is going to do some very special things on this earth and leave a lasting impression in a positive way. Branson I added recently. I can't think of even his first name, the guy that owns Virgin Airlines or Records or whatever. This guy is just such a pioneer in thought that I just had to throw him in here. Next, I threw in Alexander the Great. Aristotle was his mentor, and the guy went on to conquer the world after being mentored by Aristotle. So that is kind of crazy. I don't have a lot of imperialist war army type people in here. I don't have any in here that have impacted the world. But given that he was mentored by Aristotle, I have him in here now. The next guy, Achilles, the hero of the Trojan War, is a guy that probably did not even exist. I think Homer wrote about him. And just the classic line that if you want to attain immortality, go do something great. And then I'll just list some of these again. The ancient Greeks, Homer, he was an 8th century BC poet, I guess, writer. He wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey and about the Trojan War. Xenophanes said that if oxen could think, they would invent a god that looked like oxen. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Others, now these are guys I don't necessarily know anything about, may or may not stay in the glass bead game. But these early Greeks really fascinate me, how deep their thinking was 2,500 years ago. Anaximander, Protagoras, who I guess was a sophist, Zeno of Citium, different than the Zeno we know, Epicurus, Hippias, which was also a sophist, that believed that the world is all in the mind, which the fact that they could have this thought 2,500 years ago, and they were just peasants, just is amazing. Phaedrus I have in here. Plato wrote about him, or called one of his dialogues Phaedrus. Cicero, Diogenes, Euripides, and Herodotus, a 4th century historian who's absolutely critical to preserving some of these writings and so forth of these individuals. Just to finish this out, other philosophers, Dr. Babbage, who is the head of the Nietzsche Society. I've had correspondence with her. She read Metaphysics of Being. Has been on tour in Germany, giving speeches on Nietzsche, I guess, and said she would read Being in Time. David Hume, Henry Bergson wrote about intuition and creativity. George Lemaitre came up with the idea of Big Bang. Wesley Zaman wrote Zeno's Paradoxes. Adolf Grunbaum's a mathematician, wrote about space and time and disproved Zeno's paradoxes mathematically. John Locke, Soren Kierkegaard, who I think is kind of an idealist. I want to look into him more. Fichte, Erasmus, who was a Renaissance philosopher. Thomas Hobbes, I want to check into this Leviathan. Mencius, Ludwig Wittgenstein, who really got into philosophy of language and concepts, which is interesting because it ties into discreteness. Empedocles, who was, now I forget, Zeno's mentor, or around that time, ultimately jumped into Mount Etna to prove that he was immortal or a god. He had very advanced ideas in 400 BC. Schopenhauer, read a lot of his, is an idealist. Plotinus, read the Aeneid, wrote about the One. Schelling is a German idealist. I love all the German idealists thinking, and checking into him more. William Bachman said the most obvious answer is the correct one, and really what that was the one that assumes the least is the correct answer. Peter Abelard was a philosopher condemned by the church, and Karl Popper, Martin Buber, spirits are chained in everything was mentioned in My Dinner with Andre. Gottlob Frege was philosophy of logic. Zoroaster was into free will. Avicenna and John Stuart Mill, which I think was either into freedom or utilitarianism. Scientists, just these last couple, because these are the last ones. James Clerk Maxwell discovered electromagnetism, one of the four forces of nature. Charles Darwin, survival of the fittest, which is absolutely critical. His theory on that, and it is true, and then how that ties to why God would create a universe where everybody has to eat and destroy everybody else is just absolutely insane. Tesla, I have the greatest unrealized potential of all time. He was around the time of Thomas Edison and had some really great ideas, but Thomas Edison got all of the credit, and the world went in the direction of Thomas Edison, who is the greatest inventor of all time. Bill Gates, I have in here currently, may be one of the most important people to ever live because of the development of the information age. Ernest Rutherford was right around the time of Einstein. Ernst Mach, the speed of sound. Michael Faraday, and David Deutsch, who claims that solipsists are realists, and I really want to check into that further. So that is the 220 members of the Glass Bead game, this perfect reality, perfect society of beauty and love and music and science and God and eternity and reality and the self and being and all of the great, wonderful things that we have here in the Glass Bead game.